Hello, my name is Drew Bridges. I'm talking today about the joy of rereading old books. Books that you may have read early in your life at a different time in your life, and the value of going back and reading them again, reading them with new eyes. Now, I'm not against new books. As a matter of fact, I have a new book coming out. It's called Billion Dollar Bracket. It's a story of a group of people who thought it was a good idea to offer $1 billion for anyone who could pick all the winners in the NCAA basketball tournament. For a mere $2 entry fee, you could have a chance to win $1 billion. Now, this group didn't actually have $1 billion if anyone won, but no problem. The odds against perfection, picking all the winners, were astronomical. Well, you might sense where this story is going, but you might not know how it ends. Back to old books. I first got interested, to some extent, in rereading books I'd read before that were valuable to me when I got a call from my college student daughter. She said, "Dad, have you ever read a book called On the Road by this guy named Kerouac?" I said, "Duh, yeah." And she said, "But Dad, what's this about? Why is this such a famous book? I don't get it." So I scratched my head and I realized that, okay, she's in college in New York City. She's been to Europe many times. I could see how she might not relate to a book about some guys right after World War II who lived in communities where they're born, they stay, they grow up, they live their life without leaving home. But these guys were heading out in the car in pre-interstate highway days, looking for what's over the next hill, what's around the next corner, meeting people who are not like them, from Manhattan to Mexico. I could see how she didn't exactly relate to that story. But anyway, I got the book and I read it again. Wow, it knocked me out. It put me back there when I was 17 years old in my rural hometown, lying on the bridge over the interstate, watching 18-wheelers roar by, me and my buddy, thinking we'll just drop down off this bridge onto the top of those 18-wheelers and head out wherever it takes us. That was what I remember when I read the book the first time. I also read the book and realized that this book has a serious case of testosterone poisoning. Not much in this book for women, not much good in this book about women. Anyway, I read it with new eyes. The second book I want to talk about is John Steinbeck, East of Eden. One of my favorite books, and one which I've read at least 4 times. The first time I read it, it opened my eyes to the world of twisted relationships. And one thing I thought was, how does a novelist know about what people do to each other and with each other? This was new information for me. And as I read it maybe the second time, I kept thinking, the novelist, the psychologist, it's kind of a Henry James versus William James thing. Who knows the human heart better? The novelist, Henry James, or the psychologist, William James? Who knows more about the human condition? Something to think about. I also was so distracted by the twisted relationships in this book that I totally missed the biblical metaphor, the Cain and Abel metaphor. Perhaps I was reading it through the eyes of a son who didn't perhaps really want to be thinking about fathers and sons at the time. That's a whole different story. But when I read it again a few years ago, I saw the Father, Son, Cain and Abel, Abraham, Tim Shell. All that was so crystal clear. I need to read it one more time, not through the eyes of a son, but through the eyes of a father and a grandfather. New eyes. Finally, just for fun, these are books I got when I was 9 years old. I joined the weekly reader book club that summer, and every couple of weeks they sent me a new book. What books they were. What incredible books. Dangerous Island. What an adventure. Mystery in Old Quebec. The eyes of a 9-year-old on that book. And the best, a book about horses. Old Bones, the Wonder Horse. What's better than 9-year-olds and horses, boys or girls? In any event, find a book you read long ago. Read it again. Read it with new eyes. Thank you for asking. Thank you for listening.